Thank you. Senator King.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The nature of my questions may appear to be critical. I'm certainly in favor of defending the homeland against missile attack, no question. My fundamental question is it feasible, given today's technology and also the cost involved? I'll quote Lincoln, your critic is your best friend. So take it in that spirit. For example, Ms. Yaffe, you mentioned deterrence by denial. Is that really viable today, deterrence by denial? Can we realistically say that we could deny a substantial missile attack from Russia or China, or heaven forbid, both?
Senator, thank you.
I'm a great believer in deterrence. I'm just not sure deterrence by denial is realistic in this setting. Convince me.
Senator, thank you for the question. This is meant to be an integrated air and missile defense system that is intended to send a message to the adversary that they may not achieve their objectives. What we want to do is place the burden of escalation on the adversary and demonstrate that it will be harder for them to achieve their objectives in an attack. Right now, as you are well aware, we do not have a homeland missile defense system that is intended to guard against adversary threats beyond North Korea or rogue state actor threats. Meanwhile, the threats themselves have been expanding significantly, with Russia and China pursuing a breadth of capabilities.
Well, that's my point. We've developed a missile defense agency essentially to defend against North Korea and Iran and perhaps a rogue, not China and Russia. Now we're talking about an accelerating Chinese pursuit of this capability. Russia already has the largest nuclear stockpile in the world. Is it real? What level of scaling up would it take to have a missile defense system capable of providing any realistic deterrent to China and Russia?
Sir, this is not an answer that will be deliverable overnight. However, what the president has done is challenged us to actually look at what an integrated air and missile defense system of the homeland would look like, which is not something we've...
What does that mean? Is that 1,000 THAAD batteries around cities?
Sir, I can't weigh in on what the specific architecture would look like. I can't get ahead of what the architecture decisions will be that will come out, I think, with the budget. However, it is intended to leverage new technologies to get ahead of, we've got, certainly the list in the executive order, but to leverage some new technologies, both to accelerate the deployment of the HBTSS on the hypersonic side, also to leverage non-kinetics. And I know that you're interested in directed energy, to see what directed energy might be able to help with to help us change the cost curve. But it should be a mix of new technologies that we might be able to demonstrate in the next 4 or 5 years.
What's the
along
assumption?
With legacy systems.
General Collins, what's the assumption of how many GBIs would have to be launched to knock out one North Korean ICBM?
Sir, that'd be a classified number. We'd have to wait till the closed session to answer that.
All right. Well, General Gio, you mentioned seabed. Isn't that a critical area where we need better sensors, better knowledge, and particularly in your AOR in the Northwest?
Senator, absolutely. It is critical.
Your mic, I think, needs...
Senator, absolutely. It is critical. The seabed, detection and awareness of the seabed and the undersea environment are critical to homeland defense.
And the Russians are, in fact, significantly building up their military infrastructure on their shore of the Arctic Ocean. Is that correct?
That is correct, Senator.
So that's an area where we have to have better visibility, and also to the west, as the balloon incident told us.
Yes, sir. All true.
You mentioned directed energy. The reason for my question, General Collins, and I understand it classified, but those interceptors are about $60 million a copy. One. I can understand maybe that's a reasonable number if you're talking about a limited capacity of North Korea or Iran. But if you're talking about now it's 300 up to 1,000 missiles in China, I don't know how many, several thousand from Russia, the economics don't work. How do you feel about the potential of directed energy, which is about 75 cents a shot once it's installed?
Yes, sir. We are certainly interested in pursuing directed energy from a missile defense perspective. At this point in time, we are years away from having a capability that would be able to have an effect against a ballistic missile, an intercontinental ballistic missile. And so for the near future, we will still very much rely on the layered approaches that we have today for ballistic missile defense. We are certainly
layered approach. You've used that term several times.
Yes, sir. We look to be able to take multiple engagements on any missile as it's coming in, and so in a perfect world, we would try to intercept and take out the missile when it's still coming out of the ground and being launched from the enemy territory. That's the boost phase. While it's in space, it's the mid-course phase, and then as it's coming back into the atmosphere, it's the terminal phase. Today, we very much focus on the mid-course for engagements. We would certainly look to be able to try to bring technology to bear that we could get into the boost phase preferred, but then we may also have capabilities, an underlayer of capability that could be brought to bear to then have a second shot or a second engagement capability while it's in terminal. And so the layers of defense or defense in depth is what I refer to when I mention layered missile defense.
I think the prior administration lowered the directed energy budget by a half over the past 4 or 5 years. I think that was a terrible strategic mistake. I hope this administration will remedy that, because you mentioned it's going to be years. One way to make it months instead of years is to devote more resources to the research and development of that capability, which it seems to me is clearly the technology of the future in this field. Thank you, Madam Chair.